Welcome to Destination Freedom. I'm glad to have you here. I'm Christopher Gronsky, and we're going to handle some of our frequently asked questions tonight. And if you have questions about some of the things we're going to talk about, then of course you can type those into the chat. And although I can't see those things, that information definitely will get to me, and we'll answer those after we get through some of these frequently asked questions. And of course, we appreciate your support and would love to have you like and subscribe to our channel. So that really helps us. I don't know how it helps us, but I'm told it's a real helpful thing. So I really appreciate you being here, and hopefully we can answer some of your questions. And then afterwards, we can digress and talk about other things if you like. So we'll get right into it. Most of the time, people that contact us are interested. They've heard about the concept of state citizenship, and that we have that there are two types of citizens in the United States, and that that's not common knowledge, but there are certainly federal court cases that acknowledge that reality. It's a fact that both the State Department and the IRS define U.S. citizenship by the 14th Amendment. We have that in writing from them. So we're not making that up, okay? And so the idea of state citizenship dates back to any state or a country that has citizens of its own. Citizenship is always a choice. You can choose to be a citizen somewhere and make that choice to be there. That's the interesting thing about citizenship. Nationality is different because many times nationalities depends upon either the land, or they'd say the soil, or the blood. Okay, and then different countries look at nationality that way. In America, if you're born in the state, of course, you have citizenship based upon your nativity or your nationality in one of the states. These states, contrary to popular belief, are countries. They're states. They're free and independent, as the Declaration of Independence declares them to be. That's the way they were from their inception. Those states at the time created the federal government. The states, contrary to popular belief, are not political subdivisions of the federal government. Now, there are plenty of people that talk about the states incorporating all that, and all that is true and all that. But the reality is these states are members of the Hague Convention. They are free and independent, okay? That's the reality of it. Now, if people don't believe that, then of course that plays out, and that's where you get into what we talk about common law, or what people will accept. All right, that's a big deal. So, but my point about the state citizenship is that in Article 4, Section 2 of the Constitution, the U.S. Constitution, refers to state citizens. It says the citizens of the states are entitled to all the privileges and immunities of citizens of the several states. So the idea of state citizenship is recognized in the Constitution. Now, that part of the Constitution doesn't create state citizens. Okay, there was no statutory citizenship at the time. There were citizens of those states because those citizens of those states created even their state governments. And those state constitutions were written by the representatives of those citizens of those states. And so those citizens created their state governments long before there was even a union of those states by the Articles of Confederation. This is history that is known, and most of the time this is not concepts that are taught in school. Why? Because the federal government is not going to fund things that undermine their power and authority. Okay, so that's why most of the time people don't know these things. And just because someone goes to school doesn't mean that they're very smart or that they know about things. A doctor can go 12 years to medical school and not know a thing about how the body heals itself. An attorney can go to 12 years of law school and not have an inkling about the spiritual nature of rights, where they came from, and how that is in the relationship between the sovereignty of people over government. They may not be exposed to those kinds of concepts. So just because someone has an education means nothing. The devil is smarter than everyone. So it doesn't have any bearing on just because someone's intelligent that they're going to make good moral choices. So one of the first questions that we have is, what are the benefits or the pros and cons of being a state citizen? So in looking at that, the many times I would address it what are the pros and cons of being a federal citizen. Let me answer that. Then I'll talk about, you'll see about the opposite of that with respect to state citizenship. So federal citizen, as it says in the 14th Amendment, is a citizen subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Okay. If you want to be subject to those 500 plus, I'll do my best not to use graphic language and all, because it just wells up in me, and I want to say something that's vile, because it's kind of like that. It's that's the way it is. So many times I refer to the whole band, a group, as a bunch of pedophiles. That's just the way it lives in me. Not that they are, but that's what it seems like, because they don't shut that shit down. Who's running on a platform of shutting down the NSA, the CIA, the FBI, IRS, and all of those? Who's running on that platform? Nobody. That's why it's never going to change, folks. Okay. But anyway, back to the federal citizen subject to the jurisdiction thereof. So the federal citizen is looking for privileges and immunities or protections from that Congress. Okay. So if you're not interested in what they have to offer, then maybe federal citizenship isn't right for you. State citizenship is guaranteed protections by the Constitution. The federal citizen has no such protections. Now, a person can be both, and they can be neither, okay? But the idea is that all they can offer from the Congress are privileges or benefits and immunities, protections. The federal government is limited by the Constitution in dealing with citizens of the states. All right. That's so that you can understand how federal gun laws, immigration, food and drug, and all of the code of federal regulations can be constitutional, even though the Congress isn't delegated power by Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution to that limited power that it's been delegated. It can do whatever it wants, as it says in Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17. They have exclusive legislative authority in all cases whatsoever. So they figure it's their job to govern these federal citizens. And of course, look, if you're ignorant about what your rights are, well, how likely is it that you're going to stand and desire your rights to be upheld if you don't even have a clue what the hell they are, where they came from? And a lot of people don't know the difference between a right and a privilege. So the federal citizen is subject to that. The state citizen has those constitutional protections if, of course, the alleged representatives has a clue about federal jurisdiction and its limitation, and they may be just empowered to do, to bring money home to the state, or to set up more privileges or civil rights, which are not natural rights. Those are privileges. All that. If that's what they're there for, then you just hired another sheep to be the head of or to represent you. That might not be a good idea. My nose is tickling. So anyway, so the idea of the state citizen is that they would have these constitutional protections. The federal citizen does not. So one of those ideas is the federal income tax. The federal income tax is for the federal citizen, that's the U.S. federal citizen, and the resident alien, as the tax code says. We have a state citizenship class that's on the DestinationFreedom.org website. That's 6 hours of instruction that'll talk about the state citizen and federal citizenship and how the IRS does what it does. I'm going to show you in that class the law that requires most people, whoever that is, to file and pay federal income taxes. That question out there in in freedom or in the tax honesty movement, where show me the law that requires most people to file and pay. Well, I show you the law. The Constitution is that law, and I'll show it to you in that class. I'll show you that the federal income tax is constitutional, that the Constitution has empowered the federal government to do exactly what it does. How's that working for you? So I'm just glad not to participate in that group in the 10 square miles we call the District of Columbia. And the interesting thing, I remember a client calling me, and I asked him, I said, why do you want to do this process and come out of the federal zone? He said that he didn't like how they behave, what they do. He didn't want that energy or that karma touching his life and the fruit of his labor and all that. He didn't want to have it be a part of that. I think that's a moral, a great moral stand for his life. So I appreciated that sentiment. So another question that people usually ask is, how long does this thing take? When we talk about that, the short answer is immediately. That's how long it takes. It's immediately the moment that you realize that you're not a federal 14th Amendment citizen. It's at that time that you begin to set the record straight. Okay, and usually we begin that journey with the passport process, because it's in the passport process that the federal government deals with the concept of citizenship. They determine your citizenship, and it's in that process that you submit documents. The DS-11 passport application, you submit it under penalty of perjury as true and correct. And it's at that place that we reject that 14th Amendment citizen, and we establish your state citizenship, which is based upon habitation and domicile. And so once we do that process and you get your passport booking card, after you do that, then we do a FOIA request, a Freedom of Information Act request, in which we get certified copies of your passport file, the documents that you submit under penalty of perjury. And we have, that goes along with the DS-11, we have an explanatory statement, a 4-page affidavit with 6 pages that are supplemental to that affidavit. We present that with the DS-11 so that it's in the record. The reason we do that is because it was I had learned back in, I think, 2004, somewhere in there, during the Browns trial, that we noticed that the IRS had used the passport application against the Browns, establishing their federal citizenship and their income tax liability. And so they showed on the big screen they showed their signature right on that DS-11 application. So afterwards, I was talking to Elaine and the others that were there, that I had done my passport as a state citizen. And that was when we began to do the certified documents from the Secretary of State. Now we get wedding signatures from the Secretary of the United States on those certified documents. Those are documents that you could use in court. The interesting thing is that we've had no clients in IRS tax court because we know how to stay out of the federal zone, with your finances and the way that you do business. That's part of what we call alignment. So that was question 2, is how long does it take? So the length of time is, the typical passport process, if you expedite, is about 4 to 6 weeks. The regular passport process is 10 to 12 weeks. Ours is faster than expediting without paying for expediting. We've seen them as fast as 3 weeks. And interestingly enough, let me just ask my assistant, Alma, how long did it take you to get your FOIA back? How long was that? A month? About a month? Yeah. So a lot of times that takes about 6 months. And I think the reason that is because of because of all the criminal activity those feds do. The Secretary of State might be quite a busy guy dealing with all the things that we have to do around the world to, terrorize the planet and do all that stuff. So, that's a lot of work. A guy doesn't just sit around doing nothing. So when you get your documents, they got to be on his desk. They got to present it to him, and he's got a wedding signature sign those documents. So, we realize that sometimes it takes quite a while because right now it's Secretary Blinken. He's the one that signs off on that. But anyway, that's usually the timeline. The process is from submitting passport to getting your FOIA documents, your certified documents, can be 2 to 3 months, quick, and sometimes a little longer, but generally speaking about that. If you're traveling, you can go to a passport agency. It's a little bit more rigorous there because you have to be able to handle yourself. We deal with the acceptance agent we deal with is at the post office. That's a real peaceful way. It's just administrative, and we handle all that. For our full passport clients, we handle all the paperwork, and if the State Department writes a letter or a denial letter, we address all that. We have it's less expensive to go to our passport workshop where we have all the templates for use, and we have video that talks about the process, and everything is there so that you can accomplish the same thing, save some money, and do the process. In order to do the passport workshop, you have to take our 6-hour state citizenship class, and that also is on the website. All those videos are on the website, and we'll take you through the process. At any time, you can always reach out to us, even if you're doing the workshop, and ask for assistance. There's extra fees to that, but we're glad to help just to make sure that you handle and accomplish the task. A common question is, a lot of times people will use the term a state citizen passport. There's no such thing as a state citizen passport. If there was, then that would mean that the states would issue passport, like the states in Europe. They issue their own passports. I wish we did that in America, that these states would practice being more free and independent. But it seems as though the level of BS that's out there, where people think America's a country. If you think America is a country, you might think Europe's a country too. That country of Europe. Nobody thinks that way. Only in America are we so ignorant about who we are and what we're about. But hey, land of the free, home of the brave, buddy. It's a good thing. You can't beat that. But anyway, does the passport look different? It's the same federal passport. That's not what looks different. What's different is the DS-11. It's your passport application that's different. The IRS didn't use their passports in court for anything. That's issued by the federal government. It belongs to the federal government. Your application is your testimony under penalty of perjury of what is true and correct. That's what you're after, is those documents certified by the Secretary of State. The question is, have I always been a federal citizen? Well, the way I look at it is that if no one came along and said, hey, would you like to be a citizen of the District of Columbia or be a citizen of the states? Oh, gee, I don't know. What should I do? Well, the Constitution is there to protect the citizens of the states, and the citizens of the District of Columbia are subject to that jurisdiction. Which one would you like to be? Oh, geez, I don't know. Well, there's a hell of a lot of welfare available for you if you're a federal citizen. They're going to take great care of your future. They're going to set up that senior welfare, Social Security, that's one of those good benefits that you can have. How's that working for us? Let me see. Does the federal government have any money for your future? How much money does the federal government have? I wonder. Maybe nothing. How about trillions and trillions of dollars in debt? That's what they have. So where's your Social Security come from? It comes from the young kids at McDonald's. That's who's paying your way. You're on welfare, and they're collecting it from those minimum wage folks. That's who's paying your way. How's that feel? Oh, I I got, I paid in, I deserve it. Well, look, if that's true, everybody pays taxes and they deserve welfare. Is that really how we're handling it? Listen, if you've never read the 1935 Social Security Act, you don't know what you've been doing. But hey, don't read that. Then you'll find out that it's always been an income tax, and it's always been senior welfare, and it's always been at the Congress's discretion of whether they're going to honor that or not. How's that working for us? You trust them with your future? I don't know. I don't trust them at all. So, so there's no difference in the passport process. Here's the question: is like, with respect to have I always been a federal citizen? What I usually ask people, because they don't make that choice, I make up about people, and certainly I know for myself, I have never been a federal citizen. I have always been a citizen of my state. I may not have ever known that, and I may not have ever practiced that, and I may have filled out bad paperwork, but that's the truth. I was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I'm a Pennsylvanian by birth. I've always been a Pennsylvanian by birth. And so that my citizenship is choice. I'm a citizen of New Hampshire. That's my choice, And so that may be the truth for you too, but you have to determine that. So a lot of times people have this energy of, do I have to fulfill these agreements that I made? Well, listen, responsibility is the key to freedom. You want more freedom in your life, take on more responsibility for yourself. So the idea of absolving your government of responsibility, of your care, is a great pathway to freedom. Many times, if you want to find out where the legal remedy is for any matter, go and look at the matter from its beginning. See what you agreed to at the beginning. Realize that you may have been looking for some kind of safety, and your government has offered you some kind of, safety, and you've taken it, and therefore they've had authority to govern your life. That's what you're going to interrupt and back up. And you're going to take on securing your own liberty and your own freedom. All you would expect from your government at any time, any government on the planet, all you can expect from a just government is that they would secure your rights and nothing else. Don't expect your government to give you anything that they don't take from someone else. We've legalized stealing on a wholesale level. And we think the Almighty is going to put his sanction and bless our efforts when we are undone as a people? I think not. So here's a question I commonly ask. Can I still receive Social Security? I always get offended by that. I always want to use profanity. That's the way I feel, So I'm like, I'm trying to keep it nice. Hey, send the kids to bed. Listen, I mark this YouTube stuff as adults. So if you got kids around, turn on some video game or something. No. I know, but no. The way I say it is like, you don't like it that the government, gives it to you from behind. You don't like that, but you want it in the front, in the face, right? That's what give me my welfare. I deserve it. I paid in. God, if that's you, if that offends you, listen. I'm just trying to prick your sensibilities. I'm trying to get you to like, hello. Like I hear Al Pacino in Scent of a Woman. Remember, it's like, haven't you heard? Conscience is dead. No, I haven't heard. Well, get the freaking wax out. Grow up. It's called Screw Your Buddy. Send flowers to your mother on Mother's Day. Can I get my Social Security? You got no hand in this matter. What is it? One of the founders said, if money is, I'm paraphrasing it, but if money is what your liberty is about, then we hope that, your master's chains will rest lightly on your shoulders, and we'll forget that you're our countrymen. I will commit my life to you if you want to prosper and make money in some way honorably. If you're a retired folk and this is what you've done with your life, is that the best you can do for your finances is to expect the federal government to give you your handout, your cookie, and your lollipop. Where are your grandkids? Help them stay out of the federal zone. Teach them how to run a business. You've been running a corporation all this time. You've been a blue collar worker. You've been in the trades. Well, give them that trade. Don't you dare die while your grandkids, where you sell them into slavery to work there, to get their jobs so that the politicians can promise you jobs. When politicians promise you jobs, they want their cut of your life. They want a piece of your energy. That's why they're giving you jobs. They're not giving, they're getting. Holy crap. Can I get my Social Security and my Medicaid and Medicare? Oh my God. Well, Chris, do you get Medicaid? I don't even know what the hell that is. What does it mean? Listen, if I bust my leg, I'm going to the hospital. The doctors are going to fix my leg and I'm going to rack up a bill. Hey, listen, your choice. You can pay your bill or you can pay insurance and never use it. Now, it's responsible to come up with some cash. Look, if you don't want to be set back. But the amazing thing about America is we have free health care. Wait a minute, Chris, we don't have free health care. It's cost a lot. Yeah, welfare is expensive. And who benefits? Big frickin' pharma. The medical community benefits. Why? Because the feds are paying with massive debt. That's how they balance the budget. They're not giving. So yeah, you rack up a bill, a couple $1,000s or whatever. Pay them $25 a month, whatever you can pay. But if you're struggling to make ends meet, you're not looking for freedom. You need to learn to make some money. That's what you need. We're not teaching kids in school how to launch a business. We set kids up to go to freaking school, college with debt. And you think the bankers are going to give you the money to launch your business? Hell no. Get a good job. Because jobs, that's what we want. That's what grinds the big freaking state, the deep state. Your jobs. Holy crap. Go to college for 4 years and think you're going to come out knowing anything. You're going to be screwed up. But you're going to be right in there getting that job so that you can get your retirement. Holy crap. It's not worth it, folks. Listen, if you can't make money in America with the internet, well, you're in trouble. Listen, you got to be doing your gift, and when people see you work, they've got to see the divine. They got to see God in your life with the quality of your effort. Listen, this day and time is amazing. If you even work hard, you're going to run rings around most people. They want something for nothing. Holy crap, we're undone, folks. You think God's putting his sanction on that? I don't think so. Medicaid, Medicare. So yeah, oh God, what happens if I get cancer? What happens? It's like, listen, I'm never going to get, what's the cancer treatment of the day? Chemotherapy? Give me a break. They're killing you, and then you got to recover from the treatment. Why would you do that? There's already cures for cancer. There's holistic medicine that deals with your body and your diet and how you're eating and how you're living. That's what's wrong with people. We've got toxins out the wazoo. Our food has been polluted. I wonder if the food, let's see, how's the Food and Drug Administration doing with taking care of us in our food? How's DC doing with keeping poisons out of our diet? Not too good. How's Big Pharma doing financially with sick people? I wonder. Don't worry. We'll keep you alive. We'll treat your symptoms till you're dead. What a great system. Oh, you think that's an accident? It's the business plan, folks. What are you going to do? Nothing.
It's just the same people looking for help.
Oh, I know. You're not going to the hospital to get healthy. Ain't going to happen, folks. All the hospitals, listen, emergency care, state of the art. You know why? You know why our emergency care is state of the art? Thanks to sports medicine. That's why, because there's millions of dollars in getting athletes back on their feet again, broken bones, whatever it is, all that. So that's all great. That's excellent. They'll get you back on your feet, pay your bill, you're all set. But what? Listen, there's two things the medical community does to you. They're drug dealers. They give you, they prescribe you some drug for some symptom, and or they cut out the offending organ. That's it. Is there something I'm missing? Holy smokes. Oh, what do you know about? Look, just play it out. Just read the statistics. See how it's going. It's big money. You want to find where the corruption is? Follow the money. So anyway, so that's the idea of Medicaid and Medicare. Don't have much confidence in it. Not really interested in their remedies. Thanks a lot. Listen, there's a whole slew of great ways you can take care of yourself. I remember when I got my insurance, I don't remember what insurance I was getting. The sick nurse came to the house, this obese woman comes to check me out to see how healthy I am for the insurance company. She's like, yeah, you got a sandwich I can have there? And it's like, no, I mean, it's a nice lady. Anyway, but she was not in optimal health, Anyway, so she asks me, are you on any pharmaceuticals, anything like that? No, don't take any pharmaceuticals, not on any of that crap. It's bad. There's lots of side effects. That's why people are sick. And then you get sick and you get prescribed another medicine. And based on those symptoms, you get prescribed another medicine. Do you think that's an accident? You haven't read the business plans. So anyway, so I don't have much expectation for Medicare and Medicaid. Nice thing about paying your own bill is you can scrutinize the bill and say, I'm not paying that. That's a crock of crap. I didn't use that. I'll do this. I had an anesthesiologist one time on my way in for surgery for a broken ankle. He says, he's looking at my file. I noticed that you're self-pay. It's like, he says, yeah. He says, well, do you want new drugs or old drugs? I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, new drugs have royalties on them. They're more expensive. Old drugs like sodium pentothal, we've used that for years. It's great. Works really fine. It's like, all right, I'll take the old drugs. He's like, okay. I just saved a couple $1,000s. How many times that ever happened? Wow, and what of a nice guy to say, hey, that's pretty good. It's all amazing. So I've just made it a practice not to receive tax dollars in my care. Many of these hospitals and places have charity, real charity, that they're given by free will offerings for people. There's charities available in a number of places that if you're struggling financially, that there's charity available for you without having to use taxpayer dollars where someone is money's taken from them against their will, So anyway, that's another question here. How's, number 6. Oh yeah, when we do the process, we get both the passport book and card. A common question comes up is, what do the stars mean on the passport card? Well, here's what the facts we have. Well, let me first describe what most people think. I don't know about most people. It's a common belief. They think this. Somehow star number 1 means that you're a slave, or that's the worst one, and that a 5-star is the best, or that it's, and if with 5 stars, they allege that you're on the do not detain list. I have seen no facts or evidence to support the concept that there's a do not detain list. I know there's a do not fly list, but I don't know if there's I've never seen facts or evidence to support do not detain. So anyway, that's what everybody wants. They really want to get out of jail free card. They want to drive like idiots, and so that they can have a cop at their door and that they can give them their passport card, and the cop will look at it and go, oh, I didn't realize who I was dealing with. Okay, you're on your way. Sorry that I interrupted your good time. None of that. Listen, there's some YouTube videos, and if you can see that there's something happening, but you really have no way of knowing. You're not talking to the cop about what he sees, what he knows. That's not happening. I've never seen that. Okay, so is it available to confound a cop? Yes. You can behave in a certain way that a cop's going to say, no, I'm going to do this, not going to ticket this. A cop is a code enforcer. Okay, he has discretion to enforce the code at your door. Same thing with an IRS agent. That's a code enforcer. He has the authority to use discretion at the door. The TSA are code enforcers. They have the discretion to let you go or send you away or whatever, and you actually have to give them that authority. So that's what happens. It's very easy to do that. Then there's people that are in court, and they think their remedies work in court, when really what's happening is they're confounding the court. Why is that? It's very easy to confound a court by asking certain questions that they can't or are unwilling to answer, and therefore the court will be frustrated, and they may choose a path of least resistance, which may be dismissing or not dealing with you. But when you go looking for the facts and evidence, or from the testimony of the court, and say, did you do this because of this or this? We've not seen that kind of evidence. All right. So the idea is that the stars, here's what we know. This is what I have as evidence. I have letters from the State Department that says that the stars are security in nature, and that it's for law enforcement, and that because they're classified, they're not at liberty, based on the Freedom of Information Act, to disclose the nature of the stars on the passport card. So we polled our clients at the time and said, how many stars are on your cards? We have clients that have done this process, and they have 1 star through 5 stars. Okay, so I was interested to see what kind of stars I have on my
You're
card.
3, right?
I'm 3.
4. What does that mean?
My son Michael has 4, and Alma has 3.
No, she's on 1.
No, I have 3.
They have 3?
Now, in one, I know this firsthand. One client, he was retired military, had security clearances, and so did his wife. She was in the military too, retired. His wife had 3 stars, and he has 4 stars, right? And then they have 4 children, I think 4 children, and 3 of the children in the same family have 3 stars, and 1 child has 4 stars. So no, it wasn't that. It wasn't difference in, wasn't even male or female.
Which one?
I think they were all boys.
They were all boys.
Yeah. I think, but I could be wrong, but I think so. It might have been.
Interesting.
But anyway, 1 boy. They have
You
2
usually
boys.
see on average
Right.
if males or females
So-
have more.
So anyway, so what I asked one of my clients, I said, what do you got? He says, I got 3. And I said, and then his wife has 5. I said, well, is your wife good looking? He goes, my wife's smoking hot. I'm like, that's got to be it. I said, how about you? He's like, I'm okay. Me too. I'm okay. Alma's okay. Now my son, he's tall. Well, how many stars?
4.
See? 4. And so I'm thinking it's how good looking or ugly you are. You might be butt ugly and have
Like
1
it's
star.
like GTA, like threat level.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I think it's about how good looking you are. That's what I'm making up about it. And listen, it's playing out pretty good. Some people are better looking than others. So that's what I'm making up about it. Listen, I have a plan to figure out what it means. And as soon as I know, then we'll know. So facts and evidence trumps fantasy, okay? What we know is what the State Department says, and that's what we got. And that's what we're going to stand by. All right. So that was about the stars. How about, what if I already have a passport? What do I do? Well, we have clients that have had no passport. They have passports, and then we also have clients that have naturalized. Okay, we do all that, all of them. And so because and most of the time when you naturalize, they were foreigners, so they already have a passport because they already travel. Many Americans still don't have a passport because they don't travel. But anyway, if you have a passport, then we let the State Department know that we're correcting the previous application errors, and that's what we say on the explanatory statement. That's why you're doing it, is to correct application errors, not to change your status. The passport process is not a status change. Okay, that's what people, we use that. We talk about it. It's the beginning of the process to change that status. When we say that, we're just talking about the difference between the the citizen subject to the jurisdiction thereof, and the state citizen. So that's the status that we're talking about. And the passport process is just what it is, a passport process. The State Department is not speaking into the space. And still we have clients, when they get their certified documents, they don't know what they're looking at, and they say they're looking for the State Department's like, golly, we're sorry you got away. Well, thanks for showing up. We're really gonna miss you. Thanks. When there's none of that. Stop looking for permission. Stop looking for the federal government to say, this is okay. You're gonna be all right, buddy. You're gonna be all right. That's not what we're looking for. Your statements are true under penalty of perjury. We know the State Department, if they find out that you've perjured yourself on your application, that's punishable by a fine and imprisonment. And listen, when people will put zeros on their application when they have a social security number or they've been issued a social security number, the Justice Department will reach out to you and pursue charging you with perjury. We never put social security numbers on our applications. We always provide the social security number in our explanatory statement. That's the way we do that. So, and we've always, other than if someone has an issue with, let's say, IRS greater than 50,000, or someone has a child support problem, or there's some sort of court action pending, everyone gets passport. We've not had anybody not get a passport. And so that's the way we're going to deal with that. And if a client wants to deal with these other areas, that requires us to deal with those other areas. Could be state child support or something, or IRS that you have to deal with in order to change that. Now, we've had a couple clients that did have certifications with IRS, and then all of a sudden IRS writes and says, we have no communication with the State Department, and therefore we intend to do their passport process second time after that certification is gone. So that's what we're after. Number 8, what about renewing? Our initial process is never renewing. We have to correct that original error. But we already are doing, we have clients that have done this process over 10 years ago. And so we do renewals. We have documents for that. It's very similar. The difference is you don't have to go to the post office. You can just mail those in, and the State Department will deal with you, or they'll issue passport with the renewal, right? Then people ask, they say, once I do this process, what about my job or my employer? Well, I always say that nobody's going to take a tax stand and do these processes while being employed by a corporation. So does that mean, yeah, so you're not. So if you like this business you're working for and you're worth something to them, then you can contract your labor. And if you're not, then you're going to go launch your own business. Now, if that frightens you, well, just notice that. And it's like, wow, my freedom requires more of me. And so I'm committed to helping you move from where you are to where you want to be. There's two things that happen when you do your own business. You get to choose your hours, and you get to choose how much you get paid. You don't have to ask somebody, because whatever you provide for people, you can ask for what it is in the market will bear, and you'll do that.
Or help someone who already has a business that's profitable.
Absolutely. You can go and contract with anybody, any business you can contract with, which brings us to the concept of alignment. Okay. So most of our clients, or many of them, are doing their own businesses and all. Some just work for themselves and in that. Some have employees and they have S Corps, C Corps, whatever that is, LLCs, that kind of stuff. You have to pull out of all that. All that corporate crap has to be shut down. All that is connecting with government. Those are the people those are people, that's how government's able to shut businesses down, is because they're corporations. What you do in your personal private capacity, that is your right to do. And as long as people want to be served, you can provide a service. And listen, in this day and time, especially in America, there's massive, massive opportunity. The level of education that you can get to do anything is available, being online. If you do your business online, whatever it is, it's a worldwide market, all right? And there is so much help online to teach you anything. Listen, buy the, I've never looked this up, buy frogsareverything.com and sell everything to do with frogs. Everything. Sell frogs. I don't, people love frogs or pigs or trinkets or whatever it is, and you might be the person for that. It's available. There's so many things that you can do it even as an affiliate. You can, certainly there's YouTube, but if you don't like YouTube, just create your own website with your own video and promote it, and people will go to your website even if it isn't YouTube, and they'll watch you and merchandise you. It's so available to do whatever you want. All right. So part of our job to help you stay out of the federal zone is to assist you in the kinds of paperwork that you have to deal with when corporations ask you for a social security number and they want you to fill out tax forms. So we help you and teach you how to deal with that, dealing with social security numbers, tax forms, and such as that. That's all part of our website, DestinationFreedom.org's support. And once you learn these things, it's very easy. Been doing this for years. Listen, I one time was working for H&R Block, and I gave them my proper documents, and they cut me checks, never once required me to give them a social security number. So all that stuff is definitely available. So the amazing thing is, and some of these processes where we're teaching you how to deal with bureaucracies, even at going to the post office to begin the passport process, even with dealing with third parties and things like that, you're learning how to handle yourself and how to deal with bureaucracy. Next week, of course, you'll have to look at the dates on this video if it's out there. I'm gonna have other clients. I'm gonna see how many clients I can get on that broadcast, and they're going to talk about their experience of coming out of the federal zone and dealing with that. Like today, we were down at the DMV and dealing with them, and so my assistant will be able to talk about what that looked like to her and how that experience was. And it's not, it's different when clients will come in and I help them and all that. That's certainly a lot easier, because they're relying on me to square off with the bureaucrat and all that. And you don't have to do any of that. You can be firm without being in a fight or flight mode, but that's common for everybody. But that's an important part of growing up and dealing with, governments and stuff like that. You can actually create an art to it, and you walk in, and I've got a lot of anecdotes and stories about, going to the DMV, and they have a thing where you ring the buzzer before you can get in the door because they have a magnet on the door. And before I rang the buzzer, I just said, I'll check the door first. And it was open. I'm like, oh, I don't have to ring in. I walked right up to her desk. She's like, who are you? I'm like, I told her who I was, and she's like, how'd you get in here? I said, I walked in the door. She's like, oh, okay. I said, I'm come for make an appointment with the commissioner. So I made an appointment. It was great. But you come in, listen, if you're the one paying all the taxes, you walk in, you check the temperature, you look around the room, seems okay. You're in charge. You have representatives at the highest parts of government. See, they're voted in by people. So that's part of learning these processes. And we have an alignment workshop that deals with driver's license, deals with voter registration, deals with jury questionnaires and things like that. The processes are all the same. They may be asking for a social. They may be asking, are you a United States citizen? And so it's difficult. You cannot just say, no, I'm not a United States citizen. Because the truth of the matter is, I am a United States citizen and I'm not a United States citizen. Both those are true. It all depends on the definition of the term United States. Anyway, that's the truth. If you don't know what the definition of the United States that they're asking you with, you don't know how to answer the question. And so we have processes about that. So like today, we were down giving a explanatory statement with the application. And the first person did, they're reading it. And I always think that's funny that they're reading it. I'm watching them read it, and I'm thinking, this person's reading this and doesn't know why and what they're reading. They don't know. They have no framework. What am I reading here? And so they're looking at it, it's like, listen, this has already been approved by the administration and the Secretary of State. I'm sorry, the Attorney General of New Hampshire. So we've already got permission from them. They've already sent out memos, say, accept this paperwork. And so we do all that. So by the time we get to where they're going, they're asking questions, and you just kind of assert yourself. So it's kind of fun. So another question here is, common question is, what about my business? We have a weekly call that's about an hour. It could be longer, but about an hour for clients to ask questions about their businesses and about what they're doing and navigate these spaces. So that's something new that's starting next week. And there's no cost to the client for that call, but we may charge a subscription if we have a body of videos that we have for the clients, and we'll figure out that later. But in the meantime, we're just there to make sure that people can help and navigate along their way without it costing them anything. And so we'll see how busy that call gets and what the demand is. But we're going to make that available for next week. But outside of that, many times clients want to hire us, and so that will be on an individual basis. Depends on how big the company is, but it may be a percentage of the taxes saved annually that we determine what that amount is, and the rigor associated with that. And so it may a company that has 1 or 2 employees might not be very difficult at all. A company that has hundreds of employees, there's a lot of work with that. Many times these companies have attorneys that they deal with, and so that's a much broader scope of pulling out companies out of the federal zone. But it is our commitment to assist and help that, and so that'll be on an individual determination and basis. And so let's see here. So that was what about my business? So we help and support that. So in our alignment process, we have proper tax documents that you can submit, especially when dealing with real estate transactions, things like that. We have all that support for clients. And we don't offer that support for the general public. That's why we don't have a lot of education on the website, because for people to apply these remedies while they're still in the federal zone, it'll only create trouble for them. And we know that, and therefore that's why we don't help federal citizens or resident aliens. Then sometimes people ask, can I get my money back from the money I paid in Social Security? I have information in which that is that someone can do, but it requires reaffirming that you are in Social Security and all that, and then there's a process to pull out of that. But I don't recommend it, because I think it's at cross purposes with wanting to leave, and you own your errors. And so I just would encourage you to create the wealth for yourself, and stay retired. Don't be was that the dog making that noise? Yeah. That's a dog's got to go. Anyway, so but that's I don't recommend it, because I think it's duplistic, and it's better to own the errors and then just to move ahead from there. There's a line in the sand that you can move forward on. So anyway, so I think that's some of the 10 questions that we have. Now, there's some other questions, but we may do a second video, or we'll see how this video goes. I'm going to get into some other questions, but we're just going to make sure that this video is on the website. And if there's there's one more question that's coming to mind. People will ask, how do they begin the process? Let me answer that before we wrap up this particular hour. And we don't have to stop a video, or you can cut it or whatever. We can edit it later. That'll be fine. And I'll get into these other questions. But so if you determine that you want to start the process, one of the ways you can begin is to watch our state versus federal citizenship, the unknown choice class. It's a 6-hour class, and you can take that online. It's about 6 hours. If you're going to do the passport workshop, then that class is required. So you'll need to take that before you do the workshop. If you're going to do the full passport process, in which we do your paperwork, then that class will be included in that process. And so we'll give you the discount from that full passport price. And I'm not going to mention it on this video because I don't know how long this video will be on there, and those prices may change or whatever, but that's why I'm not mentioning them. But the class is included in that full passport process, and therefore that's we'll credit you that in that process. And again, we'll help you along the way. So if you're going to do the passport workshop or the full passport process, we'll need a hold harmless agreement from you. And the hold harmless agreements are on the website when you go to register for those workshops or the full passport process. The state citizenship class doesn't require a hold harmless agreement. Anyone can take that class. It's from after that we would need a hold harmless agreement that has to be notarized. Once we get your hold harmless agreement and you're doing the workshop, we'll give you access to the workshop. For the full passport process, we'll need then you to fill out a DS-11, which you can fill out on the website, and you can print it out. And then we'll need, obviously, your payment. We receive payment by way of PayPal, or I think it's Venmo. Yeah, I think that's it. And then we can take cryptocurrency, gold or silver, or cash. Many times people will mail cash, and that's a thing. And we really don't do any other process. I don't tend to. There's a lot of you clients out there. There's only one of me. I really can't jump through every hoop to fit everybody's financial fantasy, so I'm pretty broad in how I receive those funds for that. So anyway, there's some of that. So once we have that, then you can begin this process, and all that support's on the website. If you have any other questions, you can email us at statecitizen@destinationfreedom.org. If you want to talk about your particular pathway, you can buy an hour of my time, set up an appointment, and I'll be glad to handle or talk with you about your particular part of the process. But it will require you have a hold harmless agreement in place, because we don't help federal citizens or resident aliens. It's we can't interrupt their tax liability. We're trying to undo that stuff. So anyway, that we don't want to be duplistic in that. So anyway, that's the end of our Q&A, and we have some other questions I'm going to answer, but I just wanted to bring this part of the video to a close. Thanks so much for listening. Anyways, so that's how that works. See, that's how that works. So now we're on the website, right? We're still broadcasting, right? That's good. So let's see. It's like, hey, view or. Yeah, I know. I see that. So, yeah, so now we'll just kind of, so if you need to get up and get yourself a drink and come back and chill out. I feel like I'm off work now. No, that was the purpose of that. So we do have some questions that have come in, and if I don't give credit to your name on there, it's okay. We'll just see. I don't usually do this. But it's pretty dark in here, so I'm just gonna use it. These glasses are designed to make me smarter. So how do I look? Do I look smarter? Anyway, so let's see. I'll just blow through some of these questions. Here's one that's interesting. What do you do when you open a Facebook account or Gmail or have a YouTube presence when there are terms and conditions that you abide by talk about laws in the federal zone? Yeah, most of these things deal with, U.S. citizens and all that stuff. So the short answer is this. Now, you can read all those terms and agreements. But what are you reading them for? The bottom line is, listen, you can scrutinize them all. And if you're not happy with anything you read, then of course you don't go on these platforms. It's going to favor them. That's what happens all the time, whether it's a bank or whatnot. You're not going to enter into a conversation with them about limiting their liability or owning all your rights. You're going on to a, I can't say that it's private, because it's interesting when you talk about public and private. All corporations are public without exception. Even your little corporation, it's public, okay? You're incorporating into government. It's governmental in nature. So therefore, there's nothing about it that's private. And yes, courts and governments can compel corporations to not violate people's rights and things like that. But that's the way that's going to play out. So it's not going to be you saying, I'm not going to do this. Now, you could be feeling your rights are being violated, and government, i.e. a court, could say that this platform is violating you, and therefore you could sue them. And of course, a government can, determine something in your favor, and that plays out all the time. That's why they have these terms and conditions, is because they're wanting to protect themselves from the millions that are on their platforms. The struggle out there right now that's still being played out, and there's a couple that I'm thinking of. One is, it's well established how newspapers are. Newspapers are, if they're corporations, they're still public in that area, but they're handled as that they have the right to censor, if you will. And so that's why they're liable for libel. That they have a liability. They can't wrong somebody or say something that harms somebody, because they are receiving these protections as a kind of a free speech thing, okay? Same thing with these platforms like YouTube, Facebook, and other platforms. They're still trying to work this stuff out, whether they're not liable. When they censor, are they harming people in some capacity? That's still being played out, because they can't receive these protections of a First Amendment protection while censoring, and so they get to play that out, whether they're going to be liable for harming people or allowing something to be false. So again, those are playing out. The other thing that's playing out that I think is funky is this concept of AI. Nothing, listen to me carefully, nothing about AI is creative. Computers create nothing. Just so you know, it's garbage in, it's garbage out. The only thing a computer can do is what it's programmed to do. And if you have learning programs, it's only doing that learning based on what it's programmed to learn or to do or whatever. And so what you're seeing with AI is it's actually plagiarizing and violating copyright. That's happening out there. And when the courts get a hold of it, and when you see these major platforms that promote AI get prosecuted for stealing other people's material, that's when it's going to change. And that's still going to play out. So the courts will handle that subject matter, and it's going to be that way. Listen, machines will never, ever be as creative as people, no matter what. It's organic. It's created. It's connected to the divine. Man's crap that he builds will never replace what the Creator does with the creation that he brings into existence that never existed before. Nothing that a computer has was ever not there. It's always something. Ones and zeros. That's what it is in the very bottom of it. It's always ones and zeros. So that's my opinion. That'll play out. You may have a different opinion, and that's okay too. So let's see. Then they go into, I don't have a Facebook account, so I can't give an example, terms of services. Oh, anyway, I handled all that. Person says they live in Connecticut. They applied for a passport last year and they were denied because they had over $2,000 in child support. Yep, a state can reach out to when there's a back due of child support. They'll write to the State Department and block passport and other things. How's that for a stupid idea? Here's a stupid idea a state does. Let's see, the guy's not paying his child support. I know. Let's kick him in where he's able to make money to pay the child support. Let's stop him from driving. Yeah, that's it. And then that way he can drive illegally in order to help us pay off or take care of his child. Only a government can come up with that stupid idea, but that plays out too. So the reason they block passport is because they don't want these people that owe back child support to escape. Okay. And that's based in HUD. There is a federal aspect of that. And so you have to deal with how they determine that they owe and what they did to determine that. And so that many times is based in the federal citizen. And that's all part of caring for federal citizens and their spawn, so some of that. But the idea is that that's where the remedy has to occur, is in the state and in that. Now, in this person, they talked about that they're garnishing their wages. So how's that working for you? You're working at a job in which the state comes along and then they take the money. You still go to work while someone's taking your money against your will. Quit your job immediately. But the thing is, if you're paying off $2,000 by $10 a week, again, that's going to take a long time. What you have need of is not to be a state citizen and to do what you have need of is to open up a bigger possibility for you to make far more money than you are, so you can get out of this obligation. Certainly to be able to travel and to pursue your freedom. You need to imagine yourself creating greater wealth than to work the job you're working. Quit your job and start to serve other people for far more money than not only saying you're making a certain amount and that they take out workman's comp, they take out Social Security, they take out IRS, and you're left with pittance. Why would you do that? That's not the best use of your time. You've got to get things that make money for you and not your time. That's a different way of looking at it. That's what I do. We'll help you with that. And here's someone says, I have some questions about the process, fees, and for instance. Oh, yeah. So we'll handle that on a need-to-know basis. People ask us many times, they say they can't afford our process. That's why we do the passport workshop, is so that it's very affordable. And listen, you're already paying out far more than we are asking for our services. That's a fact. We're just saying, determine, and listen, yes, you can save up for it and do that. Would we do a financial, would we do payments and all that stuff? See, we don't want to owe anybody, or we don't want anybody owing us, let me put it that way. So it's not what we usually do. We would have to determine that on a need to know basis. So maybe we would have people who believe in our processes that would like to contribute to a fund that would help people who are struggling financially. That I could see, because then people could help each other in that capacity, because some people do better than the others. But I don't really want to just that give. I mean, people can gift anybody they want. I support that. But what you have need of is to create greater wealth for yourself. That's what I want to help you with. That's your greater need. So anyway, someone says they assume, yeah, the state citizenship class is a video class. It's online. There's no Q&A after that. If you take the class this week, come around next Wednesday, you can get on and ask us a question. We'll answer all your questions. You can email us, and we'll be glad to. We'll answer all your questions you need. Someone says they're in an offer and compromise program where contractually they have to file for the next. Yeah, that's typical. You owe back taxes. You set up a payment arrangement. And so, yeah, you're going to have to revisit all that. And so, once you realize that you've been doing these things in error, then yeah, you can stop anytime you want. Now, there's no pat way of saying everybody should do this and that. okay? It's only that you can determine whether you're gonna say, I'm done, I'm gonna step back, write letters. We know how the IRS moves forward and gets a third party to give them your money. They're going to do that. We know that. It's not like they're thinking badly about you. You're having IRS problems because you've made bad choices. And yes, there's a certain level of fraud that the government has. They're not telling you that you have choices, but you always have had choices. So, you're the one that has to determine whether the easier path is to pay it off and then to walk away without having any communication with them. Or, if you have a house and they put a lien on it, they're going to get their money by having a third party like a county court or a county registrar or a real estate transaction take the money and give it to the IRS without you. They're going to do that no matter what. So you get to determine if that's in your best interest or not. There's not a pat answer for everybody. Someone says they're watching. Okay, let's see here. It says our company is a software provider, service provider. Some of our clients are big corporations, and some require EIN number to do business with as possible. Companies don't need EINs. That's not true. That means that a company only is going to deal with companies that have employer ID. If you have no employees, then you don't need an EIN. You don't need anything. You don't even need to do corporations. And yes, every corporation can hire an individual as a contractor, a consultant, or whatever. Listen, anybody can contract with anyone and any corporation. It's a thing. So it's not a problem. You just have to know how to navigate the space, okay? No one's required to incorporate. It's not a requirement. It's a privilege. It's not a right. No one has a right to corporation. Someone says, they just ask, can you provide an estimate of how much it would cost to change the stats for me and my wife? How much for the company? Yeah. Again, if we're dealing with your company, depending on how big it is and what you've been paying out, we may decide to do a percentage of that annual, what you've been paying out in taxes. We have to determine the level of commitment and the amount of paperwork and those things that all of it represents time. And so we have to figure that out. There's nothing off the top of my head, but generally speaking, you can complete these passport processes in a few months and whatever. It's very easy to shut things down. The smaller your company, the less it affects other people, and it doesn't take a lot of time. Most of the stuff shuts down and dissipates after a year. Once you've gotten your driver's license, you've changed your voter registration, you've dealt with jury duty. It's amazing how many clients are, do the process and all of a sudden they're being called to jury duty. I wonder if that's an accident. But what we're not saying is don't register to vote. It's an important part of the process of being asked, are you a U.S. citizen, and having the truth be in place. So we don't, and I want good freedom-minded people on juries. Get on a jury, but you can't get on a jury when they're only asking for 14th Amendment citizens to be on the jury. It creates a controversy that has to be handled by the legislature. I'll make a promise. Here goes, I'm going to make a promise. The court in New Hampshire has compromised my duty to be on a jury. And I know of other clients that have also been compromised. So I need to take that to the judiciary or to some committee. I don't know what to see. I guess I'll set that up for 2025 because there'll be a new legislative, and we'll get a bill in the New Hampshire legislature to inform the public about the choices between state or federal citizenship. That'd be groundbreaking. Haven't done that before. Yeah, 2025. I promise that I will do that in New Hampshire. That'll be fun. I could also run for office and then do it myself.
I thought you didn't want to go to this one.
What's that?
I thought you didn't want to go into this one.
No, not in the federal. I'm talking about New Hampshire state. Yeah, this isn't a swamp. Well, it's kind of like a marshy kind of area. No. We have like over 100 freedom reps in our 400 reps. That's pretty good. We've been working hard at that. New Hampshire's got, listen, New Hampshire, you can open or conceal carry right in the State House. You can go in there, you can go in the governor's office, Secretary of State's office. You can go throughout all of the government without having to check a firearm. That's a freedom. There's not a lot of states that allow that. Now, you can't get into the courts that. Usually you have to check your firearm at the door. I like to do that. It gives these guys something to do. They're like, can't you leave that in your car? You want me to leave my loaded firearm in my car? That's what you're suggesting, officer? Why don't you leave it home? What? And not be able to defend myself? You don't leave your gun at home, do you? You see what I'm saying? I'm going to check this at the door. If they handle things right, that'll be cool. But anyway, it's all good. Anyway, it's all fun. I've done that before. The sheriff called me. He says, Gronsky, what are you doing? You're bothering my deputies? I'm saying, Sheriff, your deputies don't know how to handle firearms. They're trying to dig out one of my rounds out of the back of the drawer with like a pen. This is a center. You hit that center thing, it's going to explode. It's crazy. Okay, I'm looking at the questions here. Here's another question. Let's see. So here's a Sparky. Hey, glad you're on, Sparky. Once we're established as state citizens, is there any issues moving to different states? Does the process have to be repeated? Yes, of course. If you move to a different state, you're going to change your driver's license. You're going to have those documents there. You might register to vote in different jurisdiction. Even within a state, if you change your voting location, you might fill out another voter registration form. It's got to have an explanatory statement go with it because they ask, are you a U.S. citizen? You have to find out what the Secretary of State, how they define that term. It's either yes or no. You can answer it no, that's one way. Then you get to have the controversy saying, look, I'm born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I have a driver's license. I vote, I've voted before. And I'm saying under penalty of perjury, I'm not a U.S. citizen because of the definition they have. That's a controversy that has to be worked out. Not like a bad thing. Or many times you're going to answer it yes and acknowledge that the state defines that term by the District of Columbia, and you're going to define it by definition 3 of the Hooven case, how they define the term United States. That's usually what we do. And that way we don't create the controversy. I'm okay with either one. So, yes. Then someone, Live Sounds says, so Live Sounds is is going to make a suggestion that I wouldn't think so. You've moved yourself out of the federals and into the state. Could be considered a traveler. Maybe familiar with local laws and avoid the differences between state. No, Live Sounds probably doesn't have clients and probably hasn't been doing this very long. So I wouldn't recommend that. That's a good suggestion, but I wouldn't think that really would play out that way. So thanks, Live Sounds, for chiming in. I'm sure those Live Sounds are good, whatever they are. Anyway, here we go. Dean, good to have you on, Dean. Do you have to accept citizenship anywhere, let alone not being a federal citizen? No state citizenship too. That's a common question. And it's amazing is that you see, it's one thing to say I'm not a federal citizen. And that's a statement of fact. And listen, most of the planet are not federal citizens, right? And so it doesn't say anything to say, I'm not Russian, I'm not this, I'm not. How long is the list of the things you're not? Are you going to declare you're not? By declaring you're a citizen of a particular state, you declare your, and listen, I don't use the language of your allegiances. I have zero allegiance to any government in any way, shape, or form. I don't make those agreements, okay? They should have allegiances to me because they choose to be in public office. They have obligations because they volunteer to be in those places. They take oaths. They have obligations. That's a fact. So the idea is when you're taking an oath, you're just making a declaration about what's true for you. By saying, let me put it this way, you've already established that you've claimed yourself to being a federal citizen. So we always say that it's it's stronger for you to say, this is who I am. And yes, you're the only one that can truly say who you are. And listen, you're not one thing. That's why I said, yes, I'm a United States citizen, and no, I'm not a United States citizen. I am a father. I am a husband. I am a brother. I am a son. I am a son of God. I am a human on this planet like other men. I am a man. I'm a friend. And there's a lot of things we are. By you saying you're a citizen, you may be saying that you're committed to the liberty and freedom of your neighbors associated with wherever you are, wherever your neighbors are. You're a neighbor, or you may be a citizen of your town, a citizen of your county, a citizen of your state. I define citizenship not as a subordinate. Because if you refer to yourself as a constituent, that is the one that has power. There are people that have volunteered to be your representative. They've done that voluntarily. Take advantage of their voluntarism and utilize them, or let them know that you have one expectation of them is that they have your back with respect to making sure the government is not going to violate your rights. That's honorable. By me saying I'm a citizen of New Hampshire, I am rejecting citizenship of everywhere else. Now, you could be a dual status citizen, of course. Then you would specifically be a citizen of this or a citizen of that. That's okay too. But that's what it doesn't say much for you to say what you're not. What you are is your determination, of course. No one can tell you who you are or what you're about. That would be just their opinion. Like I say many times in my classes and whatever, no one is obligated to fulfill any contract or agreement that's without their knowledge or against their will. And so just because someone says that you're a heretic or a loser or an unbeliever or whatever they want to say about you, a heathen, that's their opinion. That doesn't mean that that's true for you. People have opinions. Oh, that's cool. Standing mannequin. I like that one. Place of birth or residence to declare. I don't tend to use the word residence because residence is very temporal. Residence is transient. You can reside all over the planet for a short amount of time or long amount of time. Different jurisdictions determine different obligations upon residency over a certain amount of time. The District of Columbia, that's Washington, D.C., determines that if you're in the United States over 3 months or 2 months or whatever it is, they want you to leave. Generally speaking, most, if not all, I'll say most resident aliens in this that come to America are never residing in the United States District of Columbia. Therefore, they don't have to leave it because they never went there. They're thinking they mean America when the reality is they only mean on paper the District of Columbia. So they can, because one of those things is they say they can't work. They can't work in the District of Columbia. It's not in America. It's about the District of Columbia. Look up the terms. I didn't make it up. So, but people are fantasizing about what that means, and therefore they do that. As a Christian, God says if a man doesn't work, he should not eat. God has commissioned you. Obviously, you have to work. You're serving other people. Who's going to tell you you can't serve people? Now, the federal government, because they control the District of Pedophiles or Columbia, they will determine whether people can or will work in there. And they have the authority by the Constitution to determine that. That's Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17. They have the power to say that resident aliens cannot work in the District of Columbia, Guam, Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, American Samoa. So that's a fact. So don't be in those places. Place of birth is nationality. Like I said, I'm a Pennsylvanian. Sweverick says, some of my customers only deal and pay if we provide an EIN number. Look, your customers can determine that you are black, white, female, whatever. If your customer wants you to prostitute yourself or they want you to come into the federal zone, maybe that's not the best customer to have. But the truth is, there's no obligation to have an EIN. It's not true. Are they saying they want you to have employees? Because that's what an employee ID is. If you have no employees, you don't need an EIN. And if you're an employee, you don't have to be an employee. If there are plenty, that company has plenty of contractors that don't have EINs. They have a TIN, a tax ID number. Of course, and so many times those numbers are not interchangeable. They have different purposes. So no, I don't believe your company only requires. I do believe your company has contracted with people that don't even have companies. Listen, you can contract with the cleaning company, the landscaper, this or that. Doesn't mean that they can hire a consultant that has no employees. They can hire an attorney that has no employees. They're hiring the attorneys. He doesn't have an EIN. He may have a tax ID number because he has a company or corporation, blah, blah, blah. There's no obligation for anybody to be in the federal zone. You do not have to be in the federal zone. So you may misunderstand your customer, or your customer may misunderstand the tax code. They're probably not tax attorneys. They probably don't know and have never read the tax code. They're only going by the certified public accountant, who also is not a tax attorney and doesn't know tax law. They just are trained by the IRS to do traditionally what the IRS recommends. All right. Well, I think we made it through any of our questions. Alma, do we have any other questions on there anywhere that I'm not aware of?
You have all the questions.
Oh, you're the best. Well, listen, everybody, I appreciate you being on tonight. And now I would like to close with a song. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to close. I'm not going to close with a song. Now, can you imagine? And now, no, I'm not going to sing. I'm not going to sing. Listen, the best thing I do is lip sync. You can't get better than that. You get to listen to the good song while someone pretends to sing it. Now that is good, and I'm good at that. I'm not going to do that here. But it is a fun thing. No, we don't have to deal with that copyright crap. No,
There's one on there
I won't.
about the stamp. Did you get it?
Oh, that's cool. All right, yeah. What we do for clients is we have an all rights reserved stamp that says all rights reserved. All rights reserved without prejudice, non-assumptive. Non-assumptive means nothing's assumed. Without the United States, 28 U.S.C. 1746-1. So we use that stamp. I use that stamp when dealing with my registration forms. Any kind of government form, we'll stamp or we'll write that phrase on there in what we do. I don't use it for every time I sign my name. But if it's governmental in nature, then I may use the stamp. I keep it in the car. It's very convenient. It's nice. And it's just a way of just reserving your rights. Doesn't mean that when you use the stamp, it doesn't mean that when you leave the building, no one's going to beat you up. You want to be able to, hold your own in that kind of situation. But no, that's what it is. An all rights reserved stamp. That's what it's for. Is that what they were looking for? Alma?
Yes, that's what
Okay,
they're
that's good.
looking for.
Oh, there's like a 7-second delay.
Yeah.
So we can edit it really quick if we had to.
Half hour.
Okay, I know. No, we're perfect. It's all good. It's been a long show, but all right. Well, anyway, thank you so much, and appreciate you being on. We'll see you if you're a client, okay? Then reach out to us at statecitizen@destinationfreedom.org. Let us know that you want to be on the client call. We'll send out another email that will just be on. We'll just invite that, and then you can be on that client call. We'll see how many clients we get on that, and then we'll talk about whatever people want to talk about. That will be on GoToMeeting. We will not be broadcasting that call or that talk. That'll be on Tuesday night, 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. All right, and we'll see you in here next Wednesday. Is that Halloween next Wednesday?
Halloween on Thursday.
It's on Thursday. Okay, so we don't be interrupting the little kids or whatever it is. But we should talk about what we're gonna do with V for Vendetta on November the 5th. That'll be a good way to do voting. Everybody out and about. That'll be a good time to be interviewing people. Imagine the man on the street and talk to people like, did you send somebody to the swamp? Did you think anything was going to change? More of the same. What's the likelihood that something's going to change? Do you have Do you know, remember that old thing about, doing the same thing over and expecting different results? Yeah, it's like not going to happen. So anyway, all right, we'll talk about that.
One more thing,
That's a Tuesday, isn't it? Yeah.
well, yeah, somebody wants to know what without prejudice means, real quick.
Well, the idea of when a court rules something with prejudice, it means it's done, it's over. Many times, people use that phrase with respect to reserving your rights, because without prejudice means that you can visit this at any time at all. You can look into the matter and deal with it again. It's like you're reserving concluding a matter. So it's the same thing. It's very much like nothing's assumed. You have a right to make corrections and changes and whatever you want to do, and that's why you say without prejudice. You're not going to conclude any matter. It's always can be revisited. So that's what it means. All right. Thanks so much for being on. We'll see you next time. Have a great night. God bless you. Are we off?